Welcome to another week of Taros Conversations, where we know that love is the most important conversation that we ever have, but we also know that it causes the most amount of trouble.
It does create some trouble.
So what we've done is we've created this space here to have a bit of a conversation where we can all go on a bit of a journey of trying to figure it out. And I know that this week, Shaz, that you're particularly excited about the guest that we've got coming on. Do you just want to introduce the topic that we're going to be talking about today?
So we're just talking about how God's love comes to us. Sometimes we think we have to earn it or work for it or tick some boxes, but it's actually God's love actually comes to us, no conditions.
It's pretty cool, isn't it?
It's really beautiful if we can grab hold of it. I think it's a hard concept to grab hold of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've actually got, last week we started reading Matthew chapter 5. So we turned to Jesus as he gave some of the most explosive sort of thoughts that have ever been given. And he sat down and he had a conversation and he engaged in a real conversation and he unpacked what love looked like. And it's a very different definition to the love that we sort of talk about in our modern day context, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so he uttered these next few sentences. So I might just read these out and then I'd love to get your thoughts about them. So it's Matthew 5 from verse 3 onwards. And Jesus says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way that they persecuted the prophets who were before you." Got there eventually.
You did? No. It's really beautiful. I love that passage. And I love it because what Jesus is saying is he's not saying you have to do anything.
Yeah.
To be blessed. He's saying that we are blessed because God is with us in whatever circumstance, whatever situation in life we're experiencing. We are blessed because he is willing to come to us in that situation and be with us in a situation.
Yeah, that's good. Are these situations exhaustive, do you think?
No, I don't, because not every situation in life is included in that one, is it? So
No.
I think what he's saying is he's sitting there looking at this crowd, all these people, and he's seeing all this diversity of people, different life experiences, different classes, different nationalities, different just diversity, full stop, and everybody's experiencing life in a different way. And he's saying, I'm going to come close to you. I'm going to come close to you in your situation. I'm going to be near to you. I'm going to be present to you in your situation.
Wow. I think sometimes in our modern context, a lot of us sort of get this twisted, don't we? We sort of think that we've got to work for it and that we've got to do A, B and C and then that equals D.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah. Well, we kind of think, I often have people who say, you pray because I can't pray to God because he wouldn't listen to me because I either don't believe or I've done A, B, C and D, which is naughty. So therefore, because you go to church or you read your Bible, he's going to listen to you more than if I were to pray. Whereas Jesus is actually saying, no, stop that kind of thinking. He's trying to say, I love you so much.
Wow.
That no matter what your circumstance, no matter what your situation, no matter how religious, non-religious, no matter what you believe, I want to come close to you. I actually want to come and just be with you and present in whatever situation you're actually facing.
Wow. What a powerful thought that no matter what our circumstance is and what our relationship to God might be and our thoughts and our bias and our histories or whatever, that God draws near to us and he chooses to bless us and comfort us regardless of which.
Yeah, so for me, like somebody who might be going through something and then all of a sudden, like they've never believed in God, they're a total atheist, maybe something happens to their child, they're sitting in emergency, and for the first time in their life they cry out and go, God, help me, or be present to me, or, save my little girl or save my little boy. What God promises is that he will draw near and be present regardless of your history, regardless of your past, regardless of your beliefs. He's here saying, I just want to be close to you. I just want to be in your life. and I want to bless your life with my presence, which I find just a mind-boggling thought of love.
Wow. And so now we're about to welcome in two special guests for today's episode, I suppose you can call it, with an amazing story to share. And it's on this very topic, so I hope you all enjoy it.
So I've got my beautiful friends, Penny and Cam, here, and they're just going to share a hard journey, a difficult journey, but at the same time it's a real journey. And I have asked them here because so often we kind of find it hard to find God in the middle of pain and in the middle of hard. But God doesn't find it hard to find us, even if we can't sense where He is. So you guys have been on an incredible journey for over 10 years. And then last year it was kind of like a dream for having children was well and truly just smashed, wasn't it? And there was so much hope. I remember there was so much hope that finally after 10 years and...
It's more than 10, 12,
More,
about
12.
12.
Yeah.
It
12 years.
feels like forever.
Yeah. And probably over 20 losses in that 10-year, 12-year period. And I really thought that last year you would have got your dream, that you would have had this baby, but was it at 17 weeks?
Nearly 18.
Nearly
yeah.
18 weeks. The dream just fell apart, didn't it, in a sense?
In seconds.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to share, either of you, what happened? And
Sure. Well, as Sharon said, we've been through, I've experienced infertility for our entire marriage. We attempted to have children from basically our wedding night.
because you love kids, don't you?
And, you know, when people grow up, they think, oh, I would like to be an air hostess, or I'd like to be a teacher, or I wanted to be a mother. That was my list. And so that was a big dream for both of us, not just me. And we entered our marriage knowing that it would be difficult because I had gynae issues, but prayed and hoped and attempted every avenue through IVF, etc., to conceive, and we had lots of early miscarriages and a couple a little later on, and then last March my waters broke way too early for her to make it, and we prayed really hard for a couple of days because she was a fighter and she stuck in there for a few days, but it was just too soon, and she didn't make it and her heart stopped. And that was a really difficult journey. So she went to heaven earlier than we would have hoped.
Yeah. She really did fight, didn't she? Like,
she was a fighter because really we had a few fears along the way from early on, you know, lots of little struggles, and yet, you know, every scan she was still there and she was fighting.
And she was growing and she was long.
Yes, she was busy. She wouldn't sit still at scans. So, you know, to see individual parts of her body were hard because she was too busy moving, which is a lot like her father in a sense.
She wouldn't sit still.
Was it hard, the fact that, you know, this was the last attempt in a sense, so... And you got further along than any of the other attempts. Did you kind of feel like you were even more cheated because you got so far and you were so close? Because, I mean, I've had friends who've made it to 23 weeks with a baby, and the baby's still survived and is living today and is this beautiful child. Did it kind of feel like a cruel...
I think we'd just got to the point where we were starting to be able to feel like we could breathe. Because we had had so many losses in the past, it was every appointment, every scan was a challenge. And we had just got to the point where, you know, our specialist had said, you know, you now, actually it was a few weeks on from the fact that he said, you're now at the point where there's a 98% chance that you will be taking home a baby so you can breathe. And we had just got to that point, and we'd kept her being a bit of a secret, apart from a core group of people who were very close to us. You included Sharon, who was praying and holding her life up, and we had just announced to our next range of friends that we were going to have our miracle child. So I think it's quite right to say that we felt right royally ripped off. Because I think we said a number of times, and I'm answering a lot, you should be able to answer some too, but we had said, if this is not going to work, please let it stop early so that we don't have to
Go through all those weeks.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, that's a tricky bit.
I was quite happy to accept our journey and our hardships during the previous 12 years for that moment to have a baby in my hands. I would not have ever thought of it again. Yeah. And I just thought God's testing us right to the very end.
Yeah.
And apparently the test goes on because to have to deal that and process that was amazingly difficult and still is. But I was just hoping and praying that I didn't care how rough the road was to that point, just to get there.
Yeah.
Because I knew we were tough enough to do it.
Yeah.
But when our options ran out, there was no matter who you are, how strong you are, there was just no more options. So I was just hoping that this was it, and would never have thought of the rough road again. you know, only to instill some confidence in other people, perhaps with their stories that, you pray hard enough or you ask God for those things that you desire in life and you'll get it. Yeah. And unfortunately, I just find it so difficult to tell people that because it didn't happen for me.
And it
didn't happen for Penny.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't always turn out that way. I grew up in a church, got baptised at 10, and had a childlike faith all my life, and just, believe in something, good will come. And God will give you those desires of your hearts, but it doesn't always happen that way. And I guess that's life. But so that's been one of my biggest difficulties, is to be able to tell someone that that God will give you the desires of your heart. It's not like buying a car or getting a new sofa. This is way beyond our control. We did everything we could do, but still didn't happen, and that's what we're dealing with now, and we will do for a long time.
Because they're big questions, aren't they?
Huge.
And the emotional world alone, I imagine that you would have been pretty angry.
Extremely, extremely broken and just smashed. Physically smashed, and poor Penny, to see what she had to endure. Made that, and that makes me more angry to see Penny in so much discomfort and suffering.
For nothing, in a sense.
Well,
do you know what I mean? Like,
really,
in terms of a tangible take home.
For tangible take home, unfortunately, But I guess, if we can sort of explain how we've dealt with that and how we're recovering from that, that might help somebody else. I mean, we have found good to come out of it. It's taken a while to come out, but we have. There is good that's come out of all of this for us. So.
In those early days, were the cliches difficult to hear? With the easy, like, I often find there's no words in a situation like this. I don't know what to say when somebody's gone through so much pain like this, and it just seems so unfair. I'm at a loss to know what to do, let alone what to say.
Certainly, initially, you just can't take anything in. You're just so emotional, and your head's just spinning, and your stomach's spinning, and you're just trying to come to the realisation that what you've really loved happens not going to happen.
I think things like God's got a better plan or a different plan for you, those sorts of things, at least in initial stages, are not helpful Well, I didn't find them helpful, and I don't know who would. You know, I'm part of a group that called Bears of Hope, and there are many women and men in that group who have lost children. And I think it's a shared view that those sorts of things are not helpful.
Yeah.
God has a different plan for you. Aren't you lucky your child got to go home to heaven so much faster? Well, you don't feel so lucky. That's not a helpful thing to say. I think, you know, to be honest and say I just don't know what I can say to make things feel better for you, because I don't think there are a lot of words.
No.
To be with, to give people time, to give people space, to ask, what can I do to help? And sometimes just having that question asked is important. For me, to be acknowledged as a mother has been really important.
Because you are a mum.
I am.
You are.
And I think the very difficult part, like Cam's talking about, the painful bits, the labouring bit, is the same as any other woman that goes through childbirth. It's painful. And you don't have the joy of a newborn baby to make you forget that pain. That's always there. But that pain also made me a mother, you know.
Yeah.
So those very difficult bits I'm also thankful for.
It was important that you went through that.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, you know, the gift of having an obstetrician who shared our faith meant that we did go through a labour, not a quicker termination, which would have shattered my soul.
Yeah.
You know, to think that through. So I'm thankful for that, and for his acknowledgement of that, and his capacity to love, to pray. You know, they're gifts in the crushing. They're the gifts.
Did you get to hold her when she was born?
She was delivered. She was pretty fragile, so I was careful. But yes, we were able to.
What was that moment like?
It was, well, to be honest, it was confronting, but unique. She was tiny. She was fragile, but she was perfectly formed as well.
She was long.
She was long. I'm very short. You may not be able to tell.
So you could see a little bit of what she would have been like.
So
or what she's like now.
That's right. So it was unique. It was a unique experience. And another gift were our beautiful midwives that have become friends, because you can't share an experience like that and not have some connection.
They would have been shattered.
They were, because as midwives, their role is to bring somebody into the world, not to say goodbye to them. Yeah. So but they caught her beautiful footprints, and they're treasured. They're really treasured.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that a hard moment for you?
Unbelievably. I just cried on my mother's shoulder like a baby. Yeah. And my sister was there, and I was very thankful that they were there for me.
Yeah.
But incredibly, I just could feel it rushing through me, the anger, the no. Hard to explain how you feel. Could not control it.
No.
Just came out.
Yeah.
But there was no stopping it for a while there. Never felt such emotion in my life. I'm not really an emotional person, but it came out that day. Yeah. Something I'll never forget.
Yeah. Was it hard sensing God's presence in that? I mean, I get that you can be angry with him, and I think he's okay when we're angry with him. And I don't know, I like to think he was probably a bit angry about it too.
In that moment, you don't feel it, but in the moments after, you see where his love comes through with other people and seeing him in nature. For me, getting out, surfing, bushwalking with my friends, extremely healing in that sense. Had to do that, and did that for a long time, pretty regularly. No going to church for me. I just couldn't do it.
There's something very soothing about nature, isn't there?
Oh,
Like the sound of
unbelievable.
waves. I know you love the beach too. You love just sitting on a rock, don't you?
Absolutely.
And every day you take pictures, multiple pictures of nature.
Of
Was
sunrises.
that healing for you?
It was, because it was a reminder that the world keeps going and that there is still beauty within it, and that there is something, there is a God who is much bigger than my circumstance, who loves me and created this beauty that we can enjoy. So it's a matter of, for me, it was a matter of choosing every day to take note of the good things, because I felt consumed about, sorry,
No, you're right.
I felt consumed about the fact that our hopes and dreams were dashed. So it was a matter of saying, I'm going to choose to find the goodness. And I'm going to choose to see where God is working and find him and feel him.
Yeah.
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 We're so blessed in every way, absolutely every way, with friends, family, a beautiful home. We've got good jobs. We've got dogs.
Her babies.
And, yeah, well, see, our dog came along when we needed him most, you know.
Yeah. It's funny how they sense that, isn't it?
He was
Like-
there, and they are extremely, what's the word, Pen? Our dogs.
Sensitive.
Very sensitive, and they really in tune with your emotion.
Yeah, very.
And our collies, we've had collies for a long time, and
They would just
they've
nestle in.
always been like that, but in particular the ones we've got at the moment are extremely in tune with your emotions, and they've been great to have around. So we've just been looking at all the things and focusing on all the good things we do have,
Yeah.
and that's helped me.
Yeah. Yeah. Lots of.
I think, the blessing is that, another blessing is we've got a very strong relationship that is, such a gift to me, that Cam is my husband. I mean, I still can't believe how lucky I am that God blessed me with such a fantastic husband who shares my faith and who's passionate about the things that I love. That's a huge gift.
It can be hard though, can't it? Because a lot of couples turn in on one another,
That's
don't they?
right.
Whereas
And-
you guys sound like you.
And I think, Sharon,
True.
the other gift is, and I think I've said this before to you, I may not have, but I think I have, that, at times each of us have struggled and have found it really tough. And I think the gift is that we've been able to support each other, because it's never necessarily happened at the same time. So we've been able to journey along together. And I think, we have shared our sadness. I'm not saying that there haven't been times when we've been emotionally distraught and just had to hold each other, because that's all we felt like we had at the time. But, I think that is a blessing in the difficulty too. Yeah. Statistics tell us that IVF is not good for marriages, is not good for relationships.
No.
And child loss and miscarriage and the pressure of infertility does damage relationships.
Yeah.
And you see that very often, and that, we are...
Really open for blame and finger pointing. It's your fault, not mine, and all that.
That's right.
But I've never felt that at all.
Yeah.
We're in it together, so your problem's my problem. So it's just how it was, and we're working on it. But
Do you think some of that came from slowing and retreating, and kind of acknowledging that you were both grieving, angry, because anger's part of grief, hurting, and kind of going, you know what, we just got to cut out some of the busy, and we're actually just going to do the things that actually nurture our soul and that we find healing and replenishing, and letting go of other people's expectations of, whether it be church attendance or Bible study or prayer meetings or ministries or, I don't know, feeling like you have to care for everybody else. Do you feel like some of it, that one of the reasons is that you were intentional about acknowledging your grief in this season and kind of being gentle with yourselves and kind of just pulling away in the solitude and the quiet and allowing that space to heal and restore.
I think for us that was the only way that we could have progressed through this journey. And when I say progressed, we're still progressing, you know.
Yeah.
We're 14 months on now, and it's, you know, some days are still as hard as ever, but I think the unique gift of giving ourselves time and letting the difficulties that are busyness and consuming go for a period of time has been really important. And, you know, I think some people were really concerned about us because, you know, we had family ask, are you okay? You know, you're not going to church. We're really worried about you. And, you know I felt an all-consuming sadness and a sense of why didn't God change this for us? Yeah. Those were questions I asked, and then have progressed to the point where it's not helpful for me to ask the question because I don't have an answer. I'm not going to find an answer, I don't think. No. So I've just chosen to say, okay, I need to let that slide, and that's okay. And we certainly ask questions, makes you really think about your faith journey. But for me, I still have a all-consuming faith and belief in God. I'm just got this sadness that I carry with me, you know. But the thing is, it was okay. It was okay to take time, and not necessarily align with other people's expectations on what was right for our journey, because I think that people need to work that out for themselves. You know, what is going to be therapeutic and healing for you. Yeah. And for me, it was solitude and time to focus and journal and scribble and draw and paint and find the things that I really enjoyed to bring some joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I said to Penny, I'm not going to church anymore, you know, that's it for me. But there's always that you calm down and you come around and...
Do you think the question changes from why God to where are you, God? Because there is no answer to that why, is there? I mean, it is a mystery. I often think it's like a mystery box. It's one of those things you have to put in there to ask when you get to heaven, and you've got Eden sitting beside you, and do you know what I mean? Like, the why happens there. But do you think the question changes to where are you? You stop asking that one, and then you kind of go, well, if you're real, where are you? Show me where you are in the middle of my pain. Is that some of what happens?
Absolutely. Definitely. And, you know, it's really interesting when you start to ask that question, because I certainly did quite early on decide that like I said, I couldn't keep asking why because I just wouldn't find an answer. So I did say, well, where has God been? And initially to be honest, that was hard to find in the initial stages. And then you start to see glimpses, you know. Yeah. It's in the beauty of a sunrise to remind you that there's a new morning. It's in the gift of a Christian obstetrician who cared. Or something, you know, just showed that he was compassionate. It was in the gift of friendship, of people simply bringing a meal. It was in the beauty of nature, and you know, it was in the time with friends. Yeah.
Cam, did you find that you had to be a little more physical in this season? Like, I often, you know, like Penny's describing a reasonably reflective, observational journey. For you, was it a little bit more like you had to get out on the surfboard and go bushwalking and get rid of some of that energy?
Absolutely. I don't look back. I don't remember dates. Yeah. don't know. I couldn't tell you what day it was. So I'm sort of more in the moment and moving forward. So for me, looking forward to next weekend where I'm going motorbike riding, or I'm going surfing, or I'm going on a planned bushwalk. I've got to be looking forward. I'm always 2 or 3 weeks in front, never behind.
Yeah.
I just can't look back. I don't. I choose not to remember those dates or anything like that. Anniversaries. So for me, it's getting out and if I'm running or riding my push bike, I'm in a different place.
Yeah.
And that for me, that is the total transition away from everything else that's going on. It's everything. It's work. It's what you're worried about. It's whatever. It's for me, that's the complete release out of that for a period.
He's a project man.
Yeah.
He needs a project.
Yeah.
And keeping busy was something that I mean, that comes very naturally to Cameron anyway, but
It was important.
It was really important. Whereas for me, I spent a lot of time in the early weeks just resting.
Yeah.
And recognising that we do it differently. We heal differently was really important too.
Yeah.
Pen's always understanding is if I need to go off with the boys and go motorbike riding or surfing or bushwalking or whatever, she's never ever made me feel like I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
Otherwise I'd go stir crazy if I couldn't do that, which is like COVID is making me pretty stir crazy at the moment. So thank goodness we're not going through that now. It's not that time now.
And that's seriously, that is one of the things I'm really thankful for, because if we had journeyed, a year later, we wouldn't have been able to have our family with us through Eden's delivery. We wouldn't have been able to take that time in the hospital and journey with Eden. Yeah. So some time with her, all those sorts of things wouldn't have been possible. So there are lots of little things to be acknowledging that the timing, even though it didn't feel right, was better than it could have been. Yeah.
Because it's kind of like it was a hard, like when Eden passed away, it was a hard passing, wasn't it? Because it wasn't just the passing of a life, it was the passing of a dream. So you had the double whammy all at once, didn't you?
Absolutely.
It was just this
It was a
last
trauma. It was a total trauma.
Yeah.
So, we're living in post-trauma.
Yeah. What advice would you give to somebody in your shoes?
Oh, wow.
Who's in a trauma? Yeah, and trauma can be anything, can't it? Like, there's lots of shapes.
I think for me it would probably just be to go gently. Don't beat yourself up if the way that you deal with something is different to the way somebody else would. You can't compare. Comparison is a joy stealer.
Yeah.
And what you need is what you need. But lean on the things that you love and be patient with yourself is something else. Yeah. And it's okay to be sad and it's okay to be angry, because I truly believe we've got a God that's big enough to manage our anger and our sadness, because I feel that he feels those things with us. And, I had a scripture that came to me multiple times, and it's from Psalms, and it's the Message version, which I love, Psalm 34:18. If your heart is broken, you'll find God right there. And if you're kicked in the gut, he'll help you catch your breath.
That's beautiful.
And, it is just allowing God, to find the way that suits your purpose to help you catch your breath.
Yeah. What about for you?
Definitely do what you have to do, and it's all right to do. It's all right not to go to church. It's although that probably sounds bad, but just do what you have to do. Get out. For me, it was getting out into nature, and spending time with my friends, doing stuff together. And the other thing that was good for me was we had a little ceremony at home for Eden, and we planted a tree. And just to round all that out and put her in a place in the garden, in her ashes. We put her ashes. We had her cremated, and we put her ashes in the ground. We planted a tree.
Yeah.
And for me, I guess that was rounding that out, and that's where her body is now.
Yeah.
So that was good for me. And then for me, it's not looking back. I don't like looking back. I like to look forward and keep moving on. So surrounding yourself with friends and family, I guess, and getting out and doing what you have to do would be my advice.
Yeah.
And it will get better.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it at the time, but
Yeah.
time does help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that about God, that Jesus told us that we had to keep our own soul, that we were responsible for keeping our own soul. And I think that that's what he's most interested in, is how we keep that soul. And I love the fact that, for God, time is endless. Like there is no beginning, no end kind of thing. And he's just present, and he understands that just how much time can heal. And he's happy to be in the middle of that. Like, I don't think he's impatient or got his clock sort of saying you have to do A here and you have to do B here. He's interested in us keeping our soul in healing, in being made whole, going deeper, because I often think moments like this, they do take you deeper, don't they? Because they raise those big questions of life, and you have to really wrestle and grapple. And I just love the way he's just present. I love that word where where when they're naming Jesus, it's Emmanuel, God with us. Yeah. And I love that thought that God is with us in the middle of, even when it doesn't make sense. He's just with us, and it's nothing we have to earn or do. It's just his beautiful nature of love, and he's just demonstrating his love, even if at times it's hard to find him in the middle. Is there anything else that you guys feel you want to share?
I think, this is fertility in itself is an issue that we keep hidden.
Yeah.
And, I think it's okay not to. I think it's okay not to. Everyone has their own way of managing. But I also think it would be helpful to know that there are many people that experience this loss, and it's okay to share that this is a difficult journey. And I've talked about how in the early days it was very difficult for me to hear people say God has got a different plan for you. And in some cases it was a better plan that was mentioned, and for me it didn't feel like that was a better plan, and I still wonder about that question myself. But there are beautiful gifts that have come for us. We are share carers of a young man through foster care, and potentially we would never have had that opportunity or gone down that pathway where we can make an incredible difference. And he's a delight to us, an absolute gift to be involved in his care and to help nurture him. I wouldn't say that takes away the pain of what we've been through, but it's something that's special and unique, and I'm thankful for that. And sometimes it's as simple as just looking out for the little snippets of joy. Yeah.
I think that's really important, isn't it? That, I often think as soon as you're pregnant, you're a mum, regardless of what happens after that. You've become a mum, or you've become a dad. And it is a significant, whether it goes to full term or whether you lose it for whatever along the way, you're still a mum. But it's hard I think it's hard as a culture for us to acknowledge that title, and I think it's hard to receive that title unless you've got something to show. That's something I would like to see changed. Yes. I would desperately like to see that changed.
And there's no time frame for healing from grief. That's the other thing. It's okay to, still many years on, to be saying, I'm still saddened by that. That's okay.
Yeah.
I think sometimes society puts a pressure on about, okay, you should be over that by now. And in reality, there are probably many women that, might hear this conversation that have lost a child many years ago that will still be hurting from that. And it's okay to acknowledge that feeling and to have that feeling. I think that's something that, it's worthwhile chatting about too.
Yeah. Yeah. What about for you? Is there anything else that you can think of that you'd like to share?
I think I'm pretty done.
Thank you so much for sharing, because I know it's a big thing. Thank you for sharing a hard journey and a complex journey, and I'm sure there are lots and lots of questions, and I know in my head there are still lots of questions that I don't know how they get answered, but that's okay. It's okay, because I still think that God is present and He's still good, even when we don't have all the answers. So how about I pray for you guys?
Thanks, Sharon.
Yeah. Heavenly Father, I just thank you for Pen and Cam. And Father, I just pray that you continue to cocoon them in your love. And I know that you're present, and I know that you love them. Just pray that you continue to heal and restore. And I also pray for other men and women who have had a similar journey of pain. And I just pray that you comfort, that you just surround them with your love. May they know that you're present and that you just want to be near to them, whatever that looks like, whether that be paddling on a surfboard or riding a motorbike or sitting reflecting or lifting your hands up in a church or sitting in a Bible study group, whatever that might look like, that you just want to be near, that we don't have to do anything except just allow you to just cocoon us and to be with us in whatever space we're in. So Father, I just pray that we might know you as Comforter, as Presence, as Emmanuel. Thank you. Thank you, God, for being so good. In your precious name, amen.
Well, that was such a good conversation. We felt like we had to come back the next day, just unpack a little bit of it, didn't we, Shaz?
We did, yeah. Penny and Cam were just so open and
They were so brave.
very brave, very courageous, and I'm very grateful for their willingness to share their life with us. Yeah,
You're not
really
wrong.
good. Yeah.
Something that stood out to me was how well they've done grief. I don't know if you felt likewise or if you had any thoughts around that one.
Yeah, I think that they're doing it really well in that they're going slow, they're gentle, they're being mindful of one another and where each other might be in that journey and kind of tag teaming almost in that emotional world. They've done some things just so well, like, the connection with nature, which I think is really important, that slowing down, which is really important, the staying connected with family and friends and staying connected, even when you don't understand faith, staying connected with your faith while wrestling with the deep issues and staying connected with people who can maybe believe or pray for you when you can't.
That was a huge thing that stood out to me, that the church can play different roles, obviously, but throughout that, the church is people, so the connection to the people was the important aspect for their story, I suppose.
Yeah, well, love. You just get to see love happening, don't you? Which is what Jesus asked us to do, and that's the mark of a Christian, isn't it? Is how well we're loving. And, when they're talking about their family and some of their close friends who just, either dropped off a casserole, who just held them, or like even their gynae at the time, some of the gentleness that was shown to them in that process, you can just see how they were connecting with people of faith and connecting with with faith and how love was being played out, and I think that Jesus was present.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you want to say anything about the role of church?
I think that church is something that is really important. I think sometimes it can be a loud space when you're in deep trauma.
Yeah.
I think there's a place sometimes where you need to praise and worship, and you certainly need to stay connected, whatever that might look like. For sometimes, like when we're talking about Pen and Cam, I mean, that's major trauma that they're going through.
Huge.
And the soul needs solitude to just heal.
Yeah.
And it needs time. It needs so much time just to heal. And so sometimes I think it's not so much about whether they're attending church, but whether church is attending to their soul.
Yeah, wow.
In the middle of that. And it's not about church... bottoms on pews or what ministry they're in. It's about, the church attending to their soul and being respectful of the rhythms of healing and being respectful that Jesus, the Holy Spirit, Father God are the best healers, and they can get into spaces that we can't. And trying to work with the Spirit of God in the midst of all of that.
Yeah, well said. It's about that connectedness, isn't it? That two-way relationship.
Yeah.
As opposed to just what happens on Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, some people are going to turn to the church in that space, and they're going to find the praise and the worship so healing and so meaningful. But then at times when we're in pain, sometimes it's just too noisy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you just can't find God when you're asking those really... Like when you're in pain, you're experiencing those intense emotions, and then you're asking some of those deep life questions of where are you, God? You need to eliminate as much noise as you possibly can. But they also didn't isolate. So that's
crucial.
They did not isolate. They stayed connected. They stayed, and they also took captive of their mind. Cam talked about not looking backwards. Penny talked about capturing God every single day, even if it was just a little thing. She intentionally captured her thoughts so that she could see.
It also sounded like they built up quite a bit of strength, like a reservoir with some of their disciplines in the past that helped them to be able to navigate those really difficult seasons.
Yeah. Well, they come from families of faith, and I imagine that there would have been times when they were either swimming or surfing or going for a walk or seeing a sunset, and parts of God's word would have just popped into their head, and it would have been a comfort and a reassurance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if any of our viewers at home or elsewhere have watched this story and they've been impacted and they've said to themselves, oh, that's me too, me as well, do you have any advice or any words of wisdom to be able to help people navigate the forward times?
I'm biased, so I will say connect with people of faith, because not only can they walk with you, they can also pray for you, and prayer is so powerful. Sometimes you can't do anything for anybody but pray. And so I would just encourage you to contact somebody, a person of faith. You can contact us. There are lots of faith communities that you can contact, but contact and sit with somebody of faith and just see the strength that can come through prayer and presence, because God's pretty powerful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I think that's all that we've got for this week, so thank you everyone for joining us.